Financial peace gave us this opportunity to hear from other people, to hear biblical principles on how to spend your money wisely, save your money, give money, and it brought us on the same page.
We've been married 10 years. 2 years ago, we were in a community group and we were going through a study called Divine Portrait, which is a marriage study. I had been struggling with debt my entire life, and it was one of these things that I had hidden what I thought was very well, but in reality was not. In that study, one week, it was just one of these situations that it was really pounding on my heart to tell Laura, but I didn't want to. Satan was telling me it will be harder to do that, just continue on the road you've done. And so I started trying to find avenues to fix it myself.
I kept getting these phone calls from credit cards, and I was like, I don't have any credit cards. And I was like, Chris, will you answer this next time? Because I don't know what they're saying. I don't know why they're calling me. And then that was the night that you told me.
And it was just a web of lies that I dug myself into. And finally that night, after community group, we put the kids to bed, and I said, hey, I gotta talk. And I laid it out. It was the hardest thing I've done in our marriage. You hear about your Christian walk, and like the misconception is once you give your life to Christ, it's easy. We know from just being in the Word that God does not promise easy. He promises a tough road, but He also promises He'll be there. And that was the decision that was made, was to finally put my pride aside. And the next few months were extremely hard, to the point where the only thing I could really feel was God holding me up.
When Chris first told me about the debt, my initial reaction, of course, was anger. I was a lot of fear. My anger could have gone a route that I know the Lord would not have been pleased with, but His timing was perfect in that I was in a Bible study on spiritual warfare. And something I took away from that was that the enemy wants nothing more than separation, not only from an isolation from God, but from our spouse. Even though it was a hard few months, I realized that it was a commitment that I had made to Chris, and that I loved him, and I was going to support him through it.
We got to talking with my father and my mother, and that got us on a path of stability to where things looked manageable. A couple of months after that, we got asked to be part of a financial peace class, and immediately we're like, yes, let's do this. I just didn't expect was the gentleness, because I was afraid I was going to go in with I'm so behind the ball for my age that I was going to come out of it feeling like I've failed, there is hope. But it was the complete opposite. I went into it with that mindset and came out of it with building up a future for our family and for our kids is not impossible.
We have worked together for a budget. We talk about, what we're spending, where the money is going, instead of going somewhere and purchasing something and I'll ask him if it's okay, because we want to ensure that we stick with the budget, because that's one way that we are able to pay off debt.
We get pumped. I mean, it's like pull up where we are and see how much we've paid off. I mean, we had $38,000 going into it. And so we started September of last year of 18 with a 5-year plan to pay off $38,000, which seemed great. And at this point that we sit right now, we'll be paid off by
December?
Yeah. So, a year and a half. No matter what amount of debt you have, there is hope. The challenge is go tell somebody, because grace is going to be given. That was my biggest fear, was that I was going to tell Laura or my dad, who is an accountant, and just feel this wrath. But the reality was, the moment I told them, it was, yes, anger, because there was anger and that should be expected. And then right after that, it was, let's do this.